Привет. Thank you very much. So, first of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee of the photo conference when we talk about photography, and especially to Olga Nanurova, Dimitri, Anna, and Masha, and to the Faculty of Philosophy and Natural Research at the University Hagen School of Economics for this kind of invitation. In this conference, if you allow me, I would like to pass very briefly over the artistic, aesthetic, and philosophical concepts, given the wide knowledge of the participating in this program and of the attending of these notions and matters. If someone wants to clarify or specify any subject in particular, do not hesitate to interrupt me. As you can see, this talk considers any type of discontinuity. In any case, I will be pleased to attend the questions and comments again of my presentation. Under the title of my intervention, when art projects may be no lies, you see the no lies is a one thing, we will identify Extinction and discontinuity in the focal object, sense plus nonsense. I will introduce, among other international artistic works, some of the subjects analyzed in my PhD research, art discontinuity and nonsense, and of the experimental project that I realized for the doctorate thesis. This book, English and Spanish edition, is expected to be published next year, coinciding with the celebration of different exhibitions in galleries and museums in Spain and in the United States. And I will develop some arguments in relation with the different thematic proposals addressed in the photo program. What do we talk when we talk photography? And in this particular framework, for an idea of the reading images, photography in the art practices, I will introduce my approach from the image of the art project to the over project. I would like to introduce here as an artist, not a discursive act closed in an anthropological ontology of art, aesthetics of photography, but as an approach of the art object that completes the artistic object, the aesthetic object, the artistic project, and the image of this art object that includes both cognitive, reflective, or transcendental as linguistic image, whether representational or non-representation. I would like to introduce you in this purposely constructed situation observed now in this scenario, in which windows, doors, acoustic, lighting, etc. are involved, and on the incidence of parallel activities that happen externally in the framework of this center or happen in the context of this conference program. No sense inherent to the sense of human production. As with natural phenomena in life situations, air, wind, weather, snow, light, etc. Nonsense, external to the anthropological act and image. Incidence of the nonsense and non-external nonsense. So I make the difference between no-sense, the technical philosophy, and the nonsense, natural nonsense, related in the co-presence with the sense, which anticipates at the same time the one medium immediately that I will project next. And this is an excerpt from one of my latest projects, Artist Working, Discontinuity by Nietzsche, carried out in the Basque Country, Spain, with the collaboration of the German artist Lothar von Garten and other participating artists of different nationalities, in which the configurative discontinuity of the filming in 60mm and digitalization of the video projected on a screen and instead on the beach, and its exposure to natural phenomena such as wind from the coast, natural limits, and the night like the soul. So here you can see the one part of the one of my last projects. We exhibited in the United States this year and in Spain museums. The collaboration of Rotterdam Garden is on the screen, and this was exposed from the beach to natural phenomena, as made incidents on the photography, the discourse, on the audiovisual installation, and on the artist collaborations. You can see also the RGB lights that makes clear the reproduction. So I don't know if my pronunciation is the right one, so RGB lights also, but if you have questions, we can talk in German, Italian, or Spanish. Firstly, I introduce this personal artistic object and this life situation as an example exposed to a critical audience, from which I define, as I said, in short, different aesthetic, artistic, and projectable concepts. I propose to review some of the best unknown works of the artists who will see now, photographies and projectives, as well as images generated not by artists, but by users of social networks, without alleged intentions of transforming themselves into an aesthetical object, but still images that can be used to describe different artistic paradigmatic attitudes in contemporary projects, apart from the specific photography and the post-productive image. In its apparent neutrality, remind us artwork of Pierre Juillet, the ATL, Association pour Temps Libérés, the Association of Free Times, with Pierre Juillet, Philippe Aveno, Riti Travanilla, Brian Billick, Dominique Gonzalez-Forster, etc. More recognized aspects of artworks by Marta Clark, Rainer Milcha, Gabriel Orozco, Ilya Kabakov, and photographers of other authors. And at the same time serve as object nonsense, image to be relocated in a contact project of natural nonsense to make intensify the paradigms of artistic projects itself. As Pippi Lotti once said in a lecture at the Finance University in Berlin, the Universität der Künste, not everything the artist does is art. Therefore, please open the door and windows.
Делает художник, является искусством. Например, давайте откроем окно.
Person trying to understand what I was up to and looking at. So these images mostly not composed, and that's why it was very difficult to make a book. Okay? Since you can't make the following story in a book with composed images, then you just have a catalog in the end of composed images, which always separate from each other. But if you have photographs which show you on the move, you can make a book and tell in quotes the story. Yeah? So it's a completely different score of notes, like music, to continuations, than having A, B, C, or numbers. Yeah? Completely different way to approach or to photograph as a person.
So you can see how this video was projected in my studio in Spain. Important detail here is that the light cut the video when the video projector is still working, but the night light made the incidence in the space, and the things that was filmed in 60 millimeters has the same light of the nature, and the devices are working, but there is no image. It's just wall. As we can say, just for reality. But it's undecidated. Typical anti-world of art. First of all, I refer to sense, its inherent nonsense, and the natural exterior nonsense in the following way. As you can see here in the slide, sense, anthropologic, undecidated, incomplete, definitively different, aesthetic negativity, configuratively discontinuous. Nonsense, anthropologic, inherent to sense, factual, contingent, intentional, accidental, configurative, discontinuous. Nonsense, natural, non-anthropologic, out of sense, without sense, or its inherent no sense. Non-aesthetic, undecidated, anthropocentrically, natural, discontinuity, art, discontinuity. Secondly, we can define the discontinuity according to the different fields of knowledge in which it's happened. And you can see here, already know. And in this case of discontinuity in relation to philosophy, aesthetics, and art in all its disciplines, as it will well known by you, we refer here to the configurative discontinuity that Christoph Menke points out in his book, The Sovereignty of Art. From the aesthetic experience according to Adorno and Derrida, what would be the concept of configurative discontinuity is two forms of incidence in the interpretative discourse of aesthetic experience. In short, the reading of Christoph Menke about the configurative discontinuity in its two forms according to Adorno and Derrida, and relying on other authors such as Paul de Man, we can define that understanding that the aesthetic experience is always a negative process that cannot stay being affirmed completely from the speech that interprets it in relation to the infinitely inferred meaning, and in relation to the absent structure that never allows this meaning to display the whole experience. Derrida points out that the cause of this negativity in the discourse regarding the aesthetic experience resides in the relationship that's between the parts of the speech that interpret it. While Adorno says that the negative occurs between the configuration and connection of the part of the speech and the discontinuity of the same strategies of the aesthetic object. According to Derrida, if we deconstruct the speech in statements, a first statement can mention aspects of the experience of the aesthetic object and forget others. A second statement can refer to the other aspects of the first statement that would have been forgotten, contradicting it and so on, forming in the speech alternative interpretations and more contradictory to an aesthetic object. On the other hand, Adorno indicates that this difference occurs between the interpretative discourse and discontinuity that is inherent to the same strategy of the aesthetic object, that speech interprets the similar objectives in the aesthetic object. I relocate this, regarding me, from the aesthetic discourse and its interpretation to the praxis of the art object. We could say that the configurative discontinuity of type 1, the technical, will be on the composition of the art object as formed. The variability that presents in its composition and the way in which we interpret the meaning of the experience with this object by using the discontinuities related to the difference between its parts, which taxonomy, organizational, classifier, and differential integrates it, and because of its attributes are interpretable separately, the movement that each of them make in the discontinuity they produce when regarding the object, the internal discontinuity. On the other hand, the configurative discontinuity type 2 would observe the arc object as a unit with different strategies. That is to say, we interpret this object discontinuously regarding its different movements toward the symbolic order that it was to configure. A soundness summary would say that in the arc object there is an internal discontinuity between its parts and an external discontinuity that represents towards the sense it represents, and that both act simultaneously on any object of aesthetic experience. In relation to the video we have seen, as well in the rest of the works we will analyze later, the configurative discontinuity type 1, internal or technical, is established by the formal composition of images and its experiential situation in a spatial and temporal context, as well as in devices or systems that reproduce them in front of the spectator. Intervening both in systems and media, as in compositional settings, the space and time of its staging. In the configurative discontinuity, which determines from the union and connection of multiple elements and unit factors, multiple and complete interpretation of the object of sense that is represented. On the other hand, the discontinuity configurative type 2, or strategical external, starts in the video and in the following words on the difference between the objectives with which a series of statements were formulated, for example those of Lothar von Barthelme, caused by questions about his particular notion of universal concepts like nature. Oops, the photo is lost. So here was a photograph of Lothar von Barthelme, you know the works of Lothar von Barthelme, I suppose, from when he was working with the Yanomamis tribe in Venezuela, and he makes a new point of view of the anthropological concept of the aborigine, the original man, and the image, the words, the discourse, the philosophy, and of the deconstruction and whatever. When I was working with Lothar von Barthelme in the university and in art projects, our problem was always the question of which is an original when we are making art, or what is not an original when we are making images of ourselves, of the people, of the culture, of an image of the art project itself. Yeah, the concepts like nature, whose trait is recognizes in the work of von Barthelme for transcending the anthropological vision of Western man, of the self and its ethnicity, and his final photographic work performed during his qualification for the different years with the Amazon trip of Yanomamis in Venezuela. And the slide. Drama. Here is the making of photography of the project, the interview that I made to Lothar von Barthelme. And it's a joke, it's very clear, you can see technology, representation, landscape, picture, acting, performing, filming, taking pics. And drama, the title, is of the words in German, they say make a, macht keine Drama, so make a kind theater, no lies, no representations, no exaggerations, and so on. So I have to go firstly, so fastly, because I finished with. Surely you know the archer fossil. The archer fossil is the a structure out of mind, out of words, out of discourse, because it's precedent to all our history. This is a fish in the Basque Country where I come from. Has 65 million years old structures, the entire structures. That means that there was no man there, no intelligent life there. That is the configurative discontinuity of the nature. But at the same time, it's the nature of discontinuity. It's a cat in our ontology. Pictures as here. Art object and image of the object are. I would like to talk in the conference, it was much longer. You know, Chus Martinez was the head chief of curators in Documenta in Kassel, and he makes a new concept of artistic research, and the maybe is a possibility of working with sense and non-sensical process. Not making just ontology or reproduction of discourse in art, or not making art image, any words, any actor. As we will say in the peer-reviewed works on Tiller, in Documenta Kassel, very famous, with the sculptures, natural, bacteria, dogs, represented, indicated, identified. But at the same time, peer-reviewed Documenta, with this biggest work today, maybe in the world, makes the mytho of Joseph Beuys. This is the tree of Joseph Beuys' life. And the peer-reviewed always plays this photo and makes conferences of classes or catalogs or whatever. It's the most famous picture. And this is the mytho of Joseph Beuys, of course. So he always makes nonsense in the work, but at the same time, when he plays catalogs or makes artworks, he replaces the mytho. This was very opposite to Joseph Beuys, as you all know. These are 3 series of photographs of my last project. I don't know if it's an art project or not. So I don't decide if I make exhibition with this or not. Some of the pictures are from people, friends, in Facebook, or people who makes business with libraries. And this is an art photo of a guy, a friend of mine, an artist. But can you remember to the peer-reviewed use of the dog? So the use of the animals. So the first picture, could you remember, for example, the Sao Paulo area 3 months ago? It was a very famous video with dogs running through the museum, empty museum, but the dogs running there. This is also very typical. This picture, could you remember the Dominique Gonzalez Forrester works with peer-reviewed, the art collaborations? And this picture, could you remember the ATL, the Association du Temps Littéraire, the Association of Free Times? And this picture, could you remember also the human dog, peer-reviewed, or Janis Kunelis, or all that use the animals? Yeah. And yeah, I would like to finish to read my art proposal. There's no time. So if you want to see more about the words or something, the pictures, or what I am talking, I'm making situations, but I am talking about art, you can have a look at my page later. Thank you very much.